was by design. Kepler looked at a region of the sky that was about 3,000 light years away and 0.25% of the sky. So TESS is pretty much the exact opposite. It's going to do an all-sky survey, and it's looking for stars that are much, much closer. Different areas of science. So Kepler found all these stars, but a lot of them are very far away, and then when you try to do follow-up observations, they're very faint. The idea with TESS is that the follow-up observations will be on stars that are a lot closer and a lot brighter, and so it's going to be a lot easier to find out about their atmospheres. Scientists being scientists, they always find unusual things to do with the data. So TESS was designed to look for exoplanets, but actually they found some other interesting things, and this is what I wanted to show you. So they found star quakes. There's a field called astroseismology. So seismology, you're probably familiar with on the ground. You can figure out what's inside the Earth from the ripples, vibrations. You can do the same thing with stars. So this is a paper, again, from this year. They found a hot Saturn orbiting an oscillating giant star. Great question. Yeah.
You had a slide that seemed to indicate that you were only getting data periodically from the satellite, that it was actually doing a lot of observing and then doing like a data dump. So how frequently is it actually data dumping? And,
Right.
and are you in communication with the satellite at the other times?
No. So the orbit is a 14-day orbit, and we dump the data every 14 days when we're close to the Earth. And the reason that causes a gap is we have to reorient the spacecraft. The spacecraft turns and points its high-gain antenna to the Earth.
So do you have any way of knowing if there's a problem with the spacecraft in between those times?
We touch base with the spacecraft every 3 days, but between those 3 days, no. So every 3 days we get a healthy, we see the housekeeping telemetry from the spacecraft that tells us it's healthy. It of course has ways of protecting itself. If something bad happens, it'll go to what we call safe hold and just sit there and wait for us to fix the problem.
Hello, and welcome back to Big Discussions. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar. I am the owner and the founder of this channel. I am also the owner and the founder of the Big Words blog site. The information for my blog is on the banner for this channel, as is all of my social media contacts. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Please spread the word, spread any of my content. If I've said something that has resonated with you, or if you think something I've said can help someone else. So today is April 28th, 2019, and so we are almost into the 5th month of the year. April is Financial Literacy Month, and most of my content has involved that subject. But for this one, I'm going to go back to my bread and butter, and which I think is my main contribution area, or my main contribution areas, which are science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and education. As you can see, I've returned to my initial shot. So instead of being up close on the camera, I've decided to step back a little bit because I wanted the audience to see the logo on my shirt, which says NASA. And this talk is going to involve, in part, NASA. Actually, this talk is going to be a mix of things. It's going to be the first part's going to be a science talk, and the second part is going to be I might just ramble a little bit about something else involving education and socioeconomics. In any case, I'm wearing a NASA shirt. As I described in my video about Black History Month regarding the Black astronauts, I volunteer at the David M. Brown Arlington Planetarium. And I'm actually a board member of the Friends of the David M. Brown Arlington Planetarium. The Friends is a group that saved the planetarium a couple of years ago. The David M. Brown Arlington Planetarium is one of the few remaining freestanding planetariums in the United States. So it's one of the last of its kind, and the group I'm in, we helped save the structure, and also we refurbished the inside of it to modernize it. And so we have shows there starting in September, going all the way up until May. So we take it over once a month, 1 week in a month, and we have specific topics pertaining to astronomy, aerospace, astrophysics, and those kinds of things, with numerous themes and speakers and full dome digital shows. So you might see you might actually see a friend's YouTube channel actually pop up at some point, because I told the board that I was doing some of this, and someone suggested that I start a YouTube channel just for the Friends. So you might see Friends of the David M. Brown Arlington Planetarium pop up sometime soon. So just briefly, David M. Brown was an astronaut who died in the Space Shuttle Challenger STS-107. He was an Arlington native, and so they named the structure after him. So this was our April weekend, and the theme was space telescopes. So we had full dome shows on Friday and Saturday, all dealing with some aspect of telescopes. And telescopes are important tools because they allow us to look into outer space at other planets, and in some instances other solar systems, and they even allow us to look at other galaxies. And there are tons of galaxies, and our Milky Way is just one of them. So the footage you saw at the beginning of this video was actually, I took a shot of the outside of the planetarium so you could see it. It's a beautiful structure. I took a shot of our sign, the sign that we set out whenever we have a weekend, letting people know that it's a Friends weekend. And I also took a little shot walking into the front door of the planetarium. And then I took some footage from our speaker, who was a gentleman named Shane Hines, from the NASA TESS mission. So right now NASA has a mission called TESS, which stands for the Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite. So it's a satellite basically that's in outer space looking at exoplanets. And exoplanets are planets in other solar systems, basically which we think may be life-sustaining. So NASA has numerous efforts going on right now. They're going to launch a telescope called the James Webb Space Telescope into space shortly. I think it was supposed to go up. It should have gone up by now, but you know, as with most things technological, there were numerous glitches and things that had to be corrected. So that one's going to replace the Hubble telescope, which has been up in space for a while. And so this gentleman, Shane Hines, came in and talked to us about the TESS spacecraft, which is up in the atmosphere now, the outer atmosphere, in outer space right now, taking pictures of exoplanets. So he was an engineer, and he gave a very exciting talk, as all of our speakers do when they come. So that was today's and this weekend's activity. I helped coordinate it. It was a lot of work, but it was a team effort from the group, and that's how I spend some of my time. So if you're in the DC, Maryland, or Virginia area, or the DMV, and it's during the school year and you're looking for an activity, please come out and see us at the planetarium when we take it over. I'm going to leave the website and our information in the description box below so you can know what we're doing and when we're doing it and where we're doing it. So that was our weekend, and something cool happened yesterday. I actually went out to Prince George's County, Maryland, and I got my godson, and I brought him over to the Arlington Planetarium so he could see our Saturday full dome shows. He'd never been there before. So one of the items I told the group I would try to do when I joined was to try to get more minority participation at the planetarium, because right now most of our visitors, at least during our weekends, well, they're not minorities. And since I've been on the board, I've noticed the kinds of families that are coming in regularly, and there's nothing wrong with the families coming in right now, and we welcome the participation that we get, and we're thankful for that. But as an African American / black man myself, who is a STEM advocate, it is interesting to me that we don't get more black families over there. So my godson, it was big for him to come over because he almost never sees anything science related. And I am a firm believer in us being the products of our environments. And I strongly believe that unless something or someone intervenes, we become the very things that are around us every day. The things we see in our home, the things that our friends are doing, the things that we see at school, and the things just those everyday things that are in our environment. And so I really thought it was important for me to bring him out to Arlington and to expose him to the planetarium. And he was alert, and he stayed awake for both shows and the Star Talks afterwards. And afterwards we went to go get something to eat, and he did ask me some scientific questions about what did he ask me? He asked me why we can't live on the moon the way we live on the Earth, basically. And so that was cool because he started thinking scientifically. And so that allowed me to tell him, well, the moon has no atmosphere, and the moon doesn't really have as much of a gravitational pull or force as the Earth does. And when astronauts go into space, they lose bone density because there's no gravitational force in outer space. And so just him going to that planetarium for those couple of hours got his mind moving and thinking about science. And while we look at the economic data, we talk about how right now STEM jobs are some of the highest paying fields right now, when there's a demand for STEM professionals, and we've got to get minorities into STEM careers. It all starts with thinking and imagining and going home at night and thinking about what's in outer space and how things work and why the moon doesn't have an atmosphere, and why we can't live in outer space without spacesuits. All that starts with thinking and imagining. And so I want to encourage you, particularly if you're a minority family, if you have a planetarium, in your wherever you live, I would encourage you to take your kids out there, take them as often as possible, take them as much as possible, and allow them to imagine science, and get them comfortable asking questions. Because science is it's all asking questions. The meat and potatoes of it is asking questions. We could be impressed with all the gadgets and all the inventions and the new medicines and the spacecraft and all these different things, but at the end of the day, science goes back to asking questions. Every time I go to the planetarium, I learn something new because my backgrounds are in pharmacology and toxicology, and so after both of our shows last night, there were two really good Star Talks. So our operator, Jonathan Harmon, I don't think he'll mind me shouting him out. He gave two Star Talks, and one of them he actually broke down what AM and PM are, which are our designations for time. So 10 a.m., 10 p.m., noon, and so on and so forth. So it turns out, just briefly, because I'm a pharmacologist and a toxicologist, but there's an imaginary line in the sky with which we determine where the sun is. And so, if the sun is over on this side, that's antis meridium, and if it's on this side, that's post meridium. So AM designates antes meridium, and PM designates post meridium. And so 10 a.m. designates it being 10 o'clock with the sun on this side, and 2 o'clock p.m. basically designates 2 o'clock with the sun being on this side, and we're approaching nighttime or the dark side of the earth when it rotates. So I thought that was very interesting. It's something that I never knew, even though I always knew how to tell time. So every time I go to the planetarium, I learn something new. So that's what I wanted to say in this video. I am a firm believer in exposure. I believe that the things that we are exposed to really help dictate our decisions and who we become and what options we have open for us. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. And I did see Avengers Endgame, so don't be surprised to see me do a review of the movie in a couple days, and I have some other fun things coming out of the pipeline as well. So with that, I will conclude this video, and I will see you next time. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you later. Okay, bye-bye.